Chapter: Anastasia's Family Line.
Tell me, Anastasia, how did it happen that you and your forefathers have lived for millennia in the deep forest, separate from society, with, as you say, all humanity is a single organism and all have the same sources? Then why is your family like a pariah among the others?
You're right. We all do have a single parent, as well as the parents we see. But each human destiny also has the freedom to choose a path according to his own will, leading to a specific goal. Along with everything else, this choice depends on the education of feelings.
Then who educated your distant forefathers so that your family differs so much to this day? In its way of life? In its concept?
Back in those distant times? I said distant, but it all might as well have been yesterday. Instead, I should say, when the time came and humanity did not create together but strove to dismantle God's creations, when the spear was already flying and the hides of betrayed beast began to be considered a virtue on man's body, when the consciousness of everyone changed and chose the path leading to the present day, when human thoughts strove not for creation but knowledge, people suddenly began trying to sort out how, as a result of what, man, merging with women, was capable of experiencing great satisfaction. Then, for the first time, men began taking women, and women began giving themselves to men, not for the sake of creation, but for mutual satisfaction. They thought, as do people now, that such satisfaction comes every time there is a merging of the male and female principles, their flesh, their visible bodies. In fact, the satisfaction from the merging of only flesh is incomplete and fleeting. The other levels of the human I do not take part in merely comforting actions. But man strove for a sense of fullness, changing bodies and ways of unifying, but to this day never achieving that. The sad consequences of those bodily pleasures were their children, who were deprived of conscious aspirations toward the goal of realizing the divine dream. Women began giving birth in agony, and their children were doomed to live in agony. The absence of the three planes of being did not allow them to gain happiness, and so we have come down to the present. One of the first women to give birth to her child in agony saw that her newborn daughter had harmed her foot during the birth, and was so feeble that she did not even admit a cry. That woman also saw that he who had enjoyed fleshly pleasure with her was indifferent toward the birth, and had begun to seek pleasure with another woman. The new mother, who had conceived by accident, was filled with indignation at God. She grabbed her newborn daughter roughly and fled far from everyone, to thick, uninhabited forests. Stopping in despair to catch her breath, she wiped a tear from her cheeks and for good measure hurled words of spite at God.
Why, in what you consider a beautiful world, is there pain, evil, renunciation? I experience no satisfaction when I look at the world you created. I'm full of despair and burn with spite. Everyone has abandoned me. The one I caressed now shares caresses with another and has forgotten me. It was you who created them. He is yours. He who betrayed me was unfaithful to me. She who now caresses him is also yours. They are your creations. And me? I want to strangle them. I burn with hatred for them. Your world has become joyless for me. What kind of fate have you chosen for me? Why was my child born ugly and half dead? I don't want people to see it. This perception brings me no joy.
That woman did not lay her daughter down. She tossed the barely living bundle on the forest grass. She cried out with despair and spite, again addressing God.
Let no one see my daughter. But you, look. Look at the torment going on among your creations. She's not going to live. I will not be able to feed the child I've borne. Hate curdles the milk in my breast. I'm leaving. But you, look. Look at how much imperfection there is in the world you created. Let birth die before you. Let it die among your creations.
The mother ran away from her little girl in spite and despair. But the newborn girl, alone, a helpless bundle and barely breathing, was left alone in the forest grass. My distant foremother was in that little girl, Vladimir. God felt the despair and anger coming from the earth. He had sorrow and compassion for the sobbing, unhappy woman. But although he loved her, the invisible Father could not alter her fate. There was a crown of the freedom he had given her on the despairing woman. Each person builds his own destiny. The material plane is not subject to anyone. Only man alone is its full-fledged master. God is an individual, Father of all, he does not exist in the flesh, but the set of all the universal energies in him, the entire set of feelings inherent in man, does. He can rejoice or suffer and grieve when one of his sons or daughters chooses the path to suffering. He burns with fatherly tenderness toward all, and each day caresses the entire earth with the sun's ray for everyone without exception. Every day he does not lose hope that his daughters and his sons will follow the divine path. Not on instruction, not under threat, but by exercising their freedom, they will determine their own path toward joint creation, rebirth, and joy at its contemplation. Our Father believes, and he waits. Life goes on. The entire set of human feelings is in our Father. Could anyone imagine what God our Father felt when his newborn child was quietly dying in his forest amid his creations? The little girl neither wept nor cried. Her little heart began beating more and more slowly. Only occasionally did her little lips seek the life-giving teats and try to drink. God does not have bodily hands. All-seeing, he could not press the little girl to his breast. Having given everything, what else could he give? And then, capable of filling the entire universe with the energy of his dream, he contracted above the forest into a small mass capable of scattering all the vast universal worlds by its swift expansion. It concentrated the energy of his love for all his creations over the forest. It was embodied through them in its earthly actions. And a raindrop touched the already blue lips of the little girl lying in the grass and immediately blew a warm breeze. Pollen fell from a tree and a little girl inhaled it. The day passed, night came, and the little girl did not die. The forest creatures, all the beasts, enveloped by divine bliss, recognized the little girl as their own child. Years passed, and the little girl grew up and became a young woman. I can call her Lilith. When she stepped across the grass lit by the dawn, everything joyously shouted, "Lilith!" With her smile, Lilith lit up and caressed the world God had created around her. Lilith accepted everything around her the way we accept our own mother and father. When she was growing up, she walked up to the forest's edge more and more often. Quietly hiding among the grasses and bushes, she watched how people so like her lived their strange life. They were separating more and more from God's creations, building houses, smashing everything around them, and for some reason wearing the hides of wild animals. They took delight in killing God's creatures, and extolled those who killed the fastest. They kept trying to create from what was dead. Back then, Lilith did not know that by creating something dead out of something alive, they considered themselves smart. She wanted to go to the people to tell them what could bring joy for everyone. She desired joint creation and joy from contemplation of it. More and more the need grew in her to give birth to a new living divine creation. She directed her gaze more and more often at one man. He seemed less pretentious, simpler than the others. He did not throw his spear far. Others regarded him a failure as a killer. He was pensive and often sang softly, going off on his own, and often dreamed to himself. One day Lilith appeared to the people. Having gathered living forest gifts, she carried them in a basket woven of cane to the human crowd standing by a dead baby elephant, to the men arguing about something. He, her chosen one, was among them. When they saw her, they all fell silent. Lilith was beautiful. Not covering her bare figure, she did not know that fleshly desires had predominated over everything else in men. They rushed toward her in a crowd. Placing her gifts on the grass, she saw the eyes of those running toward her burned with desire, and he, her chosen one, ran after them all. Still at a distance, Lilith suddenly felt the fine strings of her soul touched by a wave of aggression. Taking a step back, she suddenly turned and ran from the approaching warrior men. Burning with lust, they chased her for a long time. She ran lightly and did not tire, but her pursuers were pouring sweat. They were not fated to touch Lilith. Those who lusted after the beautiful thing did not know that in order to know what is beautiful, you must possess the same inside you. The warriors wearied of the chase. Losing sight of Lilith, they wandered back and got lost, although they eventually did find their way. Only one continued to roam the forest. Tired, he sat on a fallen tree and began to sing. Hiding quietly, Lilith observed and listened to the one she had inspired to sing, the one who had been chasing her with all the men. Nonetheless, she appeared before him at a distance to show him the road to his encampment. He started off and did not run after her. When they reached the forest edge, when he saw the fires and his encampment, forgetting everything, he headed off toward it at a run. Lilith watched him, her chosen one. First her heart beat unusually inside her, and then it suddenly quieted when Lilith asserted to herself and repeated,
"Be happy among the others, my beloved. Be happy. How I would love to hear your happy song, not your sad song here in my forest."
The runner suddenly halted and turned towards the forest in reverie. He glanced at the encampment and once again aimed his gaze at the forest. Suddenly he threw down his spear and began to stride confidently. He walked to where the hidden Lilith stood. When he passed her hiding place, Lilith watched, unable to tear her eyes away. The gaze of love may have stopped him. He turned and walked toward Lilith. He stood next to her, and she did not run away. Still shy, she lay her hand in his outstretched palm. Hand in hand they started out, still not having spoken a word to each other. Walking toward the glade where Lilith grew up was a poet, my father and my foremother. Years passed and the family line continued. Someone in each generation of my ancestors was overwhelmed by the aspiration to go where outsiders lived, so similar externally but with a different fate. They went in various guises. Some hid among warriors or among priests, or aspired to become scholars. They shone as poets. They tried to show another path to man's happiness. And next to us was he who created everything, that one must not hide from him to please the mercantile bustle rather than him, that one must not bow to the other essences. They aspired to tell the story, and they perished. But even when one woman or man remained, with their love they found a friend among those outsiders. Thus the family line continued, remaining faithful to the primary sources in their intentions and way of life.
Chapter: In order to feel the deeds of all people.
Anastasia, wait. A thought just struck me. You say that everyone perished and that it's been going on like that for millennia. All attempts have been unsuccessful. All humanity has gone its own way.
Yes, all my foremothers' and forefathers' attempts have been unsuccessful.
You mean they all perished, right?
All who went among people and tried to speak did perish.
Then this means just one thing. You are going to perish like everyone else. You've started speaking too, and hoping for another outcome here is simply foolish. Furthermore, if no one has been able to change the world and society's way of life, why do you...
Why speak of death prematurely, Vladimir? Look, here I am, still alive. You are beside me and our son is growing up.
But what is this confidence that has settled in you? What makes you believe it is you who will be victorious despite your ancestors' unsuccessful attempts? Like them, you are merely talking.
You think I'm merely talking? Sometime you should think more carefully about my sentences. They are not for the mind. There is no information in them that has not been set forth before. Yet people read them, and they engender stormy feelings in many, all because they are so constructed that people understand a great deal between the lines. The poetry of their own soul fills in the gaps of what is unsaid. It is not me speaking now about the divine truth, but they themselves discovering it. Their numbers are growing, so there is now no turning them away from the path of the dream intrinsic only to God. My mission is not yet complete, but the desire the Creator has been waiting for has been realized in many souls. That is the main thing. When the soul aspires to something in the dream, then believe me, everything must come to pass in life as well. It must.
Then tell me why it all wasn't set forth in these kinds of sentences before.
I don't know. Perhaps the Creator shone with a new energy, an energy that spoke in a new way about how every day we see around ourselves what we see, but do not lend it its proper significance. My feelings are not deceived. I feel it clearly. Once again, He is accelerating all His energies. The dawn is coming for the whole earth. His earthly daughters and sons will know the kind of life that the energy of the divine dream created. Both you and I will be a part of that. But the main thing is that they, the first ones, were able to sense those thoughts that formed between the lines. Those thoughts which, like the music of the soul, were planted in people by the Creator's energies. It all worked out. It all came to pass. People are already striving to build a new world in their thoughts.
You're speaking in too general a way, Anastasia. Speak more specifically. What should people do? And how and what kind of world should they build? A world where everyone will live happily.
I cannot speak more specifically right now, Vladimir. There have been many treaties in the life of humanity. People have sunk into worship before many of them, but they are all senseless. Treaties cannot change the world, and just one point serves as proof of this.
What point? I don't understand.
That point in the universe where the limit to everything is set, that point at which all humanity now stands. It all depends on which direction they take next. All this speaks to the fact that there is no sense in treaties whatsoever. All humanity since creation has lived drawn only by its feelings.
Wait up, what? You mean I haven't done everything in my life by intellect?
Vladimir, like all other people, you have changed the correlation of matter around you with your mind, trying by material means to experience feelings, those feelings which each person knows intuitively, which each person seeks and cannot find.
What feelings? What does each person seek? What are you talking about?
About what people back then, in the primary sources, felt when their life was still in paradise.
So do you mean to say I've shoveled through so many matters with my mind in order to know the feelings of man in paradise?
Vladimir, think for yourself why you've done all the things you have.
What do you mean, why? Like everyone, I was providing for my life and family. I wanted to feel as good as other people.
You said to feel.
Yes, I did.
Now you'll be able to understand, to feel the deeds of all people.
What do you mean by all? Drug addicts search for those feelings too.
Naturally. Like everyone, they strive to find these feelings by following their own path, by subjecting their earthly body to torture, by using a potion, in order for a moment, and only approximately to help them know the great feeling. Even a drunkard, forgetting everything, frowns and drinks his bitter poison only because the search for a beautiful feeling lives in him. The scientist strains his mind. He invents an intricate new mechanism and believes that the device will help him and everyone else know satisfaction. But in vain. Human thought has acquired quite a lot that is senseless in its history. Remember, Vladimir, you too are surrounded by many objects where you live, and each object is considered a scientific achievement. The labor of many people is spent on it happening. But just tell me, please, Vladimir, which of them has made you happy and satisfied with life?
Which one? Well, none taken individually, maybe. But together, all the objects still make life much easier. The car, for example. You sit behind the wheel and go where you want. It's raining and cold outside, but in the car you can turn on the heat. In a hot spell, everyone outside is soaked in sweat. You turn on the AC and cool air surrounds you. In the house, in the kitchen, for example, there are lots of labor-saving devices for women, dishwashers and vacuum cleaners to make cleaning easier and to save time. It's clear to everyone that many devices can make life easier for us.
Unfortunately, Vladimir, that ease is illusory. All humanity is forced to pay for them every day in shortened lives and suffering. To acquire soulless objects, people are forced to engage in work they do not love their entire life, like slaves. Soulless objects come to surround them, indicators of the degree to which man has failed to understand the universal essence of being. You are a human being. Look more closely around yourself. In order to obtain your next mechanical object, factories are built and belch a lethal stench, the water becomes lifeless, and you, a human being, must engage in joyless work your whole life to acquire devices you don't really need. They do not serve you, you serve them. You invent, repair, and worship them. Meanwhile, Vladimir, tell me, which of the great scholarly thinkers invented, and at which factory did they produce this mechanism here for serving man?
Which one?
The squirrel with the nut under my hand.
I looked at Anastasia's hand. She was holding it outstretched, palm down, about 1/2 meter above the grass. And on the grass, just under her palm, a red squirrel was standing on its hind legs. In its front paws, the squirrel was holding a cedar cone. The red-brown face first leaned over toward the cone, then hoisted it up, and the squirrel's shiny round little eyes looked into Anastasia's face. Anastasia smiled as she looked at the little beast, not stirring, and kept her hand cantilevered. Suddenly the squirrel put the cone on the grass, got very busy over it, and with its front paws and claws cracked the cone and took a little nut from it. It stood on its paws again, lifting its little face, as if it were extending the nut to Anastasia and asking her to take it from its paws. But Anastasia sat on the grass as before without stirring. The squirrel, tilting its little head, quickly bit through the nutshell and with its little paws and claws shelled the seed and placed the nut seed on a blade of grass. Then it started getting more and more nuts out of the cedar cone, biting the shell and piling the little nuts on a leaf. Anastasia lowered her hand and placed it on the grass, palm up, and the squirrel quickly moved all the clean nuts from the leaf to palm. With her other hand, Anastasia lightly petted the fluffy little beast, and the squirrel suddenly fell still. Then it ran up closer to Anastasia and stood up, peering into her face as if quivering for joy before her.
Thank you. Today you are a beauty as never before. Go on, little fuss budget. Find yourself your chosen one, a handsome one worthy of you.
She held her hand out toward the trunk of a spreading cedar. The squirrel ran around Anastasia twice, hopping, rushed headlong in the direction in which the person's hand had pointed, and jumping onto the trunk, disappeared in the cedar's crown. On the palm held out to me lay the clean cedar nuts. I thought, really, here is this mechanism. It picks the food itself, brings it itself, and also shells it, a beast that needs no care, repair, or electricity. After trying the nuts, I asked, and the commanders, the Macedonians, Caesar, the rulers who started wars, Hitler too, were they searching for the feelings of the primary sources as well?
Naturally, they wanted to feel like rulers of the whole earth. They believed subconsciously that that feeling was akin to what everyone seeks intuitively. But they were wrong about that.
You think they were wrong? Why do you think that? After all, no one yet has been able to conquer the whole world.
But they have conquered cities and countries. A battle was fought for a city, and victories were achieved. But the winners gained transient satisfaction from that victory. They strove for greater conquest, and the wars continued. After conquering one country or many, they gain cares, not joys, and the fear of losing it all. Once again, they sought satisfaction through military deeds. Their minds, polluted in the bustle, could no longer lead them to the dream of the great divine feelings. All earthly military rulers have come to a sad end. The story known to everyone today speaks to this. Unfortunately, the bustle and casting about and the sequence of mercantile dogmas do not allow those living today to determine where, in what, the divine feeling awaits them.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Co-Creation, Book 4 of the Ringing Cedar series, Tiger Dinner.